Hi, I'm Wade McGinnis with Thoroughbred Diesel. Today we're going to remove the turbo from a 2012 Ford Powerstroke 6.7 with the cab on the truck. It can be done. This video is actually going to tie in with a series of videos that we're going to be doing on installing a twin turbo setup on this 6.7 truck. So installation of this turbo is going to be reverse of removal, obviously, but we just wanted to make sure that we did a video showing you the proper way to remove the turbo with the cab on the truck. So let's get started. To remove your stock turbo, first step is to remove both your positive and your negative battery cables before proceeding any farther. There are sensors that you're going to be dealing with here that you'll have to hook and unhook, so that's why we will remove all 4 of our battery cables. The next step that I do is I remove the upper intake plenum. That's this large black plastic piece right here that pretty much covers up the entire turbo and the biggest part of the engine bay, to be honest with you. All right, this intake plenum has several 8 metric bolts in it. There are 2 different sizes. Some of them are long, some of them are short. You don't really, you'll know where the long bolts go as opposed to the short bolts go when you take the plenum off. So there are only 2 different lengths, so no big deal there. You'll go through and take all of the intake bolts off of this plastic plenum. There's some in the back. When you're working with those, I use a 1/4-inch drive ratchet and a universal or a swivel of some sort. So you'll have to have a couple of different swivels and some, you know, some things to be able to get to the back side of this plenum to get it out here. There's a dipstick bracket on the driver's side over here. Right here, you'll want to remove that 8 metric bolt as well. Once this bolt is removed on this side, on this dipstick, that allows you to move this dipstick around to get to the 2 bolts here that are close to the fuel filter, and that's really it. You'll also want to have some sort of a tool to be able to get some of the clips off. Some of the clips have got push pins like this one here. You'll want to remove those. You'll want to remove those wires from the plenum as you're coming out. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get all of my bolts out. And again, just follow along the black plastic plenum, get all of your bolts out, and once the plenum itself is dislodged, I'll show you how to work the plenum out of the cab there. All right, you've gotten all the bolts out of your plenum. You're starting to work on it now. It doesn't matter how you twist it, how you turn it, it won't come out of there. Let me show you what the deal is. This coolant pipe right here that my finger's touching, this coolant pipe, if you follow it down, there's an 8 metric bolt down in here that holds that coolant pipe down. You will have to remove that little 8 metric bolt, and this is going to give you enough clearance to be able to get the intake plenum out like this. So I use a super long extension and go down in here and get the bolt out. Once I get the bolt loosened up, what I do is I take a magnet and use the magnet to go down in there to bring the bolt out, and then I'll show you the plenum when it comes out. All right, now that you've got the little 8mm bolt that holds this tube down, you just grab it passenger side first, raise it up, and then just give it a good quick tug and it'll come right past the thing. There's one more wiring harness push pin that holds on the back here. You want to make sure that you pop it out, and then your plenum will come right out. Our next step is going to be removing the coolant hose and the vacuum hose that run to this side of the motor over here. So first off, we're going to remove the vacuum hose. The vacuum hose runs down in front of the secondary plenum down here, so you can just follow it down. It's got 2 blue tabs on it. Squeeze the tabs together. You want to make sure that you hold the base of this and you don't bust it, because it is, again, vacuum, and then that'll disconnect that vacuum hose right there. Then we're going to want to go ahead and move our coolant hoses out of the way, and with this vacuum hose you can go ahead and unclip it from the coolant line, from the bottle, and then just sit it out of your way. Then we want to go after the coolant line. Now, if you've got the stock Ford intake on here, there's going to be a resonator box here. The resonator box, the lines run on top of the resonator box. You can still move them out of your way. I need a longer pair of pliers for this, just kidding. We're going to go ahead and take the coolant line off the degas bottle. We're going to just remove it. And then we'll lay this coolant line off here as we go. This is an S&B intake. You can check our installation video out for the S&B intake. It comes with this clip that holds the coolant line down. We're going to remove that real quick. Sorry, I should have had that out of there before I cut to the shot. A little bit of a longer bolt. All right. Then this will let us move our coolant line over out of the way. I just stick it down in here to where it's not in our way. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually remove the intake. This is an S&B intake on this truck. We're just going to remove the front pipe that goes into the secondary plenum here. No need to take the whole box out for us. We're just going to go ahead and loosen up these worm drive clamps. And we'll leave the box itself in place, but we're going to remove this pipe here from the box, and that'll give us the clearance that we need to get the secondary plenum out. Our next step is we're going to be removing this EGR crossover pipe right here. There's an EGT sensor, there's a temperature sensor that goes into this. You want to follow the temperature sensor wire down, and it has got a push clip right here on the bottom of the intake plenum. I've already popped that out. You're just going to want to unhook it as well. Just got a simple push pin connect or a push in connector on that, and then there's two 8 metric bolts on the crossover pipe here, and we're going to want to remove all 4 of those. There's 2 at the EGR this side, then there's 2 at the plenum side. They're 8 metric, and we're going to just go ahead and remove those. Once you've loosened all 4 of the intake crossover bolts, you're just going to want to go ahead and take that the EGR crossover pipe. Just going to want to go ahead and work it out. Next step is we're going to remove the charge air cooler pipe, the famous plastic one that always breaks. So 11 metric down on this side. We'll go ahead and loosen it up. Then the clip side, show you how I do the clips. I'll go around and just pop it loose on one side and get it started. Then I'll come to the other side here, work it loose. And once I've got it loose, I'll go ahead and bring the charge air cooler pipe out, and we can just take it loose from that end like that. That's all we need to get. Just don't forget about your snap ring. That'll be right there. Also, when you have removed the charge air pipe right here, underneath of this is the electrical connector for the throttle valve. You just want to reach underneath of there and simply unhook it. Like so. Okay, now we're going to be going after the boot on the turbo outlet. as well as the boot on the intake of the turbo. So 8 metric deep well is what I use here, and I'll go ahead and loosen these up. There's 2, and they're usually turned to the bottom here where you can't hardly see them, but there's 2 here, right here and here. Then there's 2 down here at the face of the turbo. I hope you can see that. All 4 of these have got to be loosened up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen these, and then I'll show you how to get the second intake plenum off. All right, now we're going to be unhooking this PCV sensor that's at the turbo down in here. When I touched the PCV line, this was dry rotted and brittle, and it broke off. Normally what you would do there is you would twist it. There's an unlock cam at the bottom of it here. We would unlock it from the intake of the turbo, which I am going to attempt to do now. And then I should give you the ability to take that out. Actually, with that loose, I'm gonna go ahead and see if that'll come out with that unhooked. Let's see, 10 metric. There are 3 bolts here, here, and here, and then that'll have it ready to come. Have the intake plenum ready to come out. Two short bolts and 1 long bolt. Now we just start working the intake out by lifting straight up and walking it out. Now that PCV would have gotten turned to disengage it and then pulled straight off. So you would have turned the collar, the plastic collar here, to disengage it. And of course it's about half of a nightmare, and it comes off like that. So all right, now you are staring right at the face of the turbo. All right, the next step we're going to do is we're going to be removing the intercooler pipe right here. To remove the pipe, there's an 11 metric clamp, 11 metric nut on the driver's side against the air to water intercooler. We'll go ahead and loosen it up. Loosen the clamp up quite a bit to release the hose from the pipe itself. And then as we walk it loose, then we'll go up at the turbo. The turbo has got a clamp, another spring clamp of a sort. On these clamps, what I do is I'll just go ahead and pop one end of them up, and when you pop it, they go into another part of the clamp that actually holds them open. So I'll hit the other side of it. You just got to hit the 2 sides with a pick. And what's nice about them is if you get one side caught, you can take the other side and just hit it with your pick and then pull it free of the turbo like so. So I'll work here at the air to water intercooler, getting the hose off, and then we will remove the intercooler pipe. So our next step is going to be remove the coolant line from the turbo. Before we remove the coolant line, we are going to have to drain the primary radiator. To drain the primary radiator, that is the radiator that is attached to this coolant bottle. That is the front radiator closest to the firewall of the truck. It will need to be drained. The drain cock is on the driver's side of the truck. Go ahead and drain the primary radiator before you remove the coolant line from the turbo. The next step is to remove the turbo coolant line. The turbo coolant line can be removed by activating that clamp on this end against the crossover pipe. The tube follows right along through here and connects to the turbocharger here. Now, this coolant tube, we have done a video on how to replace the coolant tube. To disengage the coolant tube from the turbo itself, we use these Jiffy Tight tools because it's a Jiffy Tight connector. The connector to the turbo is Jiffy Tight again, so we use the tool to unhook it. Just to kind of show you what this is. This is the oil line here on the bottom of the turbo, but I'm going to pull the dust cover off this connector, or I'm going to try to. There it is. All right, I just wanted to show you what you're up against here. So this connector has the same Jiffy Tight style connector. Let me screw it back in there. You can see the spring clip on this clamp here. That spring clip, if you don't have the Jiffy Tight tool, which most of you probably won't, you can simply pull the spring clip out to release the line. So again, that's this coolant line here. This coolant line here that goes to the turbo. We're going to go ahead and remove that from the turbocharger now. Show you a little silly part of this job that shouldn't take this long, but it seems like with me it always does. So if your luck's like mine, I'm going to show you what we got here. So on the charger itself, when we have, after we've disconnected our coolant line, the first thing I go after is there's a sensor on the back of the turbo here. This cover, this heat shield, this covers it. Sorry about the shaky camera work. What I do is I pull the heat shield back so you can see the electrical connector. Then I've got a scope, and this scope, I use it, which it shouldn't have to be this hard, but it's just one of those things that's hard to get to. I use the scope to find the electrical connector, like that right there. Now you can see that electrical connector. It's got two gray legs on it, one there and the one on the other side. All you've got to do is get a pick back there, unleash them, and the electrical connectors will come off. So that was the easiest way I knew to show it to you on that. That's the vane actuator control. So we will unhook it now. You do it however you like to do it. That's what I have to do on my side. The next thing that we're going to remove on the turbo is going to be the heat shield, and here is the heat shield on this turbo. It's got 3 8-metric bolts on it, one here on the very top, one on the passenger side, and then there's one over here on the driver's side as well. So remove those 3 8-metrics, and once those 3 8-metrics are removed, the heat shield will slide to the passenger side, and then you can pull it right out. The next thing I remove is the turbo oil supply line, this line right here. Now remember, we talked about these are Jiffy Tight connectors, so use your Jiffy Tight release tools if you have them, or you can use a small pick like this and just pull the clip out of the connector itself. The connector, zoom in on this, you can see that the connector here, once it comes into focus, you can see that that connector has a shiny silver clip, and I'll point to the end of it with that. That clip can just be pulled out. If you can get access to the open end of it, remove the clip, and then the line will come out. At any rate, that is what you're going to do here. Some people don't take the oil supply line out. I like to, because of that bend right there at the bottom closest to the CP4. I feel like it gets me a little bit more room to rock the turbo out. So we're going to go ahead and remove that line now. Believe me when I tell you that the funnest part of this job is yet to come. It's time to do the up pipe and down pipe clamps on the turbo. Now you can see in this shot, we're looking directly at the passenger side manifold up pipe. That clamp right there, 11 metric, we're going to be going after that. You can see the down pipe in the shot. You can also see the clamp that's on it right there. That clamp, and I'm going to try to point to it here if I can inside the video. Don't guess I can. So right there at the end of my finger is that clamp. Now that clamp is facing up on this truck, so it's another 11 metric. I can get to it by snaking through this hole, this gap right here in the Charger by the wastegate. I can get to that clamp, loosen it up, 11 metric on that up pipe. That will leave you with the up pipe from the driver's side head. I will show you how to get to that one here in just a second, but these are the two clamps that we're going to attack right now: the driver or passenger side head up pipe clamp and the down pipe clamp. We'll go ahead and get those loosened up. I'll show you something that we use once you loosen the clamps. If you have a problem with getting them, this is a lady finger. We use this to trip the clamps basically. So once I get the 11 metric nut loosened up, I'll give it plenty of play. I'll go in here with this lady finger and I will go underneath of the ears of the clamp. So I will place the pry bar or the lady finger right here, that's a bad shot, and then I will pull this away. I will pull back, and that will give me good leverage to trip clamp. That's what I use and makes it easiest for me. So those two clamps are what I'm going to go after now. Again, really not a whole lot I can show you about doing this. It's kind of got to be a right combination of what ratchet, what socket that you use to get back there to it, just getting it loosened up and getting the clamps tripped. You'll see that we've got the clamp off of that up pipe right there. I have got the clamp loosened on the down pipe as well. To get this clamp off, this pry bar is what I've got in my hands, the one I wound up using. It's a real small snap-on one, but it's good. It's good to have a couple of different pry bars in this instance, especially maybe some cheap ones that if you need to cut it or bend it to do what you need to do, you can. All right, I want to talk about one more thing before we have to go outside of the engine compartment. The wastegate, the actuation hose is actually vacuum controlled. Okay, it is on this vacuum line right here. I went ahead and unplugged that, but that's pretty much it right now for the engine compartment. Now we're going to go out to the driver's side or the passenger side fender well, and we're going to remove the fender well. All right, now it's time to go ahead and remove the passenger side fender well. Not a lot to this, but fun side note, if you do not own a 5.5 metric, you're going to want to get one. So a 5.5 metric are going to be used for these outside bolts that hold the fender well in out here. You heard that right, folks, 5.5 metric is what these are. Then there's some 8 metrics like this one right here. There's one here, one in the top, then one on the front as well. You'll want to remove that. This is pretty self-explanatory. Go through, take the bolts out, remove the inner fender well on the passenger side. We're removing this fender well because it's going to give us access to the driver's side up pipe clamp and also finish off our down pipe clamp. So I went upstairs and I got Adam, who is our camera guy. I had been filming this video kind of by myself and mocking the camera up and taking a few shots and just showing you, hey, take this bolt out, take that bolt out. But as I came to the clamps, I realized that I owed you all more than that. And that's what I brought Adam down here for, because I want to try to show you everything that we went through to get these clamps off. This is a different video because we are doing this with the cab on the truck. If you've got a 2-post lift and you've got the means to do it, by all means, please do me a favor, pull the cab. But if you don't have a 2-post lift, you are in a situation where you got to get the turbo off the truck and get it up and running. We hope that this is going to be able to help you. Some of this stuff I've already taken off as I've been going through. I've put it back on here so I can kind of walk you through it, and Adam and I are going to show you. So when I left you, we had taken the fender well out so we could get to the bolt that holds the downpipe down. So we're going to kind of start from there. Fender well's out. You've realized what you're up against for the clamp, so here we go. So your first clamp that you're going to come to is this up pipe clamp. All right, now what I did here is I went ahead and pulled the up pipe. Sorry, Adam, my light quit on. I went ahead and pulled this up pipe. On the back of the head here, the exhaust manifold, there are 3 1/2-inch, yes they are 1/2-inch nuts, okay? I went ahead and PB blasted them, let them sit overnight, came back the next day, worked them right off, thank goodness. So I got the 3 nuts off of there. The exhaust back pressure tube, this is a 10 metric. All you gotta do is loosen the nut up on the back of the head on the or on the EGR right there, loosen it up, and then take the exhaust back pressure tube out of the up pipe, okay? And then your clamp. Now we talked to you about getting the clamp off. The clamp, we used any different series of picks that we could get our hands on to pop the ears of the clamp off. Let me tell you right now, before we go any farther, this was the main tool for this clamp. Before we go any farther, let me tell you, doesn't matter what you try to do, if you don't get all 3 ears of these clamps off of the flanges, this thing is not going to come out, so forget about it. So we've got those 3 off, the up pipe comes out, and there we are. Okay, now this leaves us at the downpipe. The downpipe clamp for this one was a bear. We used several different combinations of picks and clamps to get it off. What we wound up doing, this is one of the up pipe clamps, but what we wound up doing, and the way this clamp sat, to get to one ear of it, we made a cut right here. We just cut it with a whiz wheel, and that let us go around there, and we could take the prize bars and pry against the clamps, and that got that loose. So that was our downpipe clamp, which was by far the hardest of the clamps, was the downpipe clamp. Now, if you're watching this video and you've done this a bunch, you may have a different outcome. If you want to share those tips and secrets in the comments below, please do that. Because we want to try to help you all. So now we've got our upper, or our passenger side up pipe, we've got it off, we've got the downpipe clamp off. Now it's time to go after that murderous little bastard that is the driver's side manifold up pipe clamp. Let me show you how we did it. Not very good lighting on this shot. I'll be real honest with you, so I'm not going to be able to show you a whole lot, but I'm going to try to do my best here. Okay, so inside of the fender well, and I'm going to point to this for pry bars, there's a bolt right here at the end of this, and it actually goes right here. But there is a bolt right there that holds this downpipe on. So we remove that bolt, and then we go farther downstream. We go farther downstream into the downpipe, and we just go ahead and loosen the 2 bolts that hold the exhaust onto the downpipe. That gives us actuation of the downpipe. Then you just shake the downpipe and it comes straight off. Now, this clamp where my light is, and I'm going to take this pry bar and I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to touch one side of it, okay? Adam, I don't know if you can see it or not right there. Yeah, perfect. This clamp. See what I'm doing right here with this prize bar? That's exactly how I got that clamp off. I took a long pry bar out the fender well, hit it with a hammer, popped one ear off, then I went after the bottom one. I did the bottom one from the top. I found a couple of pieces of steel that I had that were scrap. I sharpened one end of them up, I hit it from the top, and boom, I got it. Then I went back to this top again, just like this, with the same prize bar. I hit on this until I made enough headway with it, and it finally popped loose. The third one popped loose. Now, you all might have different tactics of this. However you do it, it doesn't matter. The object is to get it off of there. Truth be told about this video, we are taking the stock turbo off of here, and we're going to be doing a twin kit on the truck. So all of this, the manifolds, the up pipes, all this stuff is all trash. It's not going back on this truck. This truck is getting a complete makeover in turbo world. But for those of you at home, with this, you know, we had to trash one clamp. You'll have to go back and get another clamp. The other 2 clamps are probably going to be in a position, after I got done with them, they're probably going to need to be switched out as well. So that's just the long and the short of it. That's real mechanics. that's every day, and that's what we wanted to show you. Now, you're at a point to where turbo is ready to come out. All 3 of the clamps are done. We're going to go show you where the 4 bolts, the 4 13 metric bolts that hold the turbo to the engine valley are, and we're going to get ready to walk this turbo out. All right, we've got 4 13 metric bolts that hold the turbo into the engine valley. There are 2 right here, and they're very easy to get to. You can see where my socket is. You just take your socket and your 8-inch extension or however long extension back to the back. There's another gap in the turbo right here where I am. That gets you to the other one. You just got to feel around for it and look. Same thing here, one here. Then there's another one in the back. The 4th one takes it out. So that will have all 4 of your mounting bolts out. Now, the oil pressure side, this fitting right here, I used a 1-inch. It needs to come out because when you start walking the turbo out, it's going to get close enough to that CP4 that it's going to give you fits. So go ahead and take that fitting right there out. So once we remove this fitting and I get these 4 13 metric bolts out, Adam is kind of going to do a little time lapse, and he's going to show you us wrestling this turbo out of the cab. All right, one last thing, I forgot to show this. This coolant tube needs to come out of here. We've already taken, when we were taking the intake plenum off, this bolt is already out, so we're good to go there. So we're just going to disconnect this by pushing these 2 gray tabs together and then pulling straight up on it. That will let that clear. Then you get yourself an 8 metric, which you're going to have handy and laying around. And we will pull this coolant pipe. Loosen it up like this, right here. And then we will drop the bolt in the engine valley, wiggle the tube back and forth, and then the coolant pipe, she is out. Back and forth to break it loose. That's it, you got it. She's all yours now. All right, get the face of it facing towards you. Wait a minute. Hold on. Push it back towards the manifold there. What is it, Ricky?
He's going.
Okay. Is it clear of it? Is it clear of the? Is it clear of the clamp?
The clamp is holding on by. Like,
I'm worried about hitting these lines real hard.
Well, cock it towards the thing. Cock it up. Is it free of it, Ricky? I don't believe she's. She is now. All right, let me hit. Greg, you want to do this? Or you want me to do it? All right. Jerk that sumbitch past that cow. Go now. No. Get the face of it up, front of it up. There you go. There you go. That's it. That's it. Pull it on past that cow. Hold on a second. There he goes. Woo.
You're going to have to get your nose up, bud.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Hold on just a second now. Yeah. Oh. There you go. There you go. Hand it to me. There you go. Hey.
Should have had the mic on him for the grunt.
All right. She's out, boys. Hey. Todd, you watching me right now, Todd? You see me, Todd? You see me? Uh-huh. I'll send that to you. Perfect.
There's a day in the book.
There, yeah.